Thank you and welcome to the Master Asian Code channel. Um, it is a blessing for me to have you here with me today. So I'm really curious about you, Merrill. So real short, real quick, can you give the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Oh, the most simplest of questions. All right. Thank you, Richard. I am a father, a husband, a brother, a son, and I get paid for being an agile coach. Been doing this full time for about 6 years. And before that, tested medical devices for exactly 6 years. And I have a lot of fun doing it, working with fine folks like yourself. I'm not just saying that because I'm being recorded, but I do have a lot of fun with the fellow coaches as we bounce ideas off each other to help each other grow the folks that we're taking care of.
Nice. And I see that you have a really unique pin on you. It looks like a pig. Can you tell us what that is? Why do you have that?
Yes, this, I don't know, hopefully the camera picks this up, is from the children's book series Elephant and Piggy. My daughter is 5, so
Okay.
we read a lot of such books. And part of the reason I'm wearing it, because I saw it, I just had to buy it,
Nice.
is because there is not a lot of agile iconography
Okay.
out there.
Okay.
And so there is a story of chickens and pigs,
Okay.
therefore pigs.
And are you gonna get another one that's a chicken just to go with it now?
If I can find one, like I'd really like to find like a chicken head and a pig head. Like, look, we're friends.
Oh,
Maybe we
okay,
can
yeah.
work together, but that doesn't exist yet. So if
Cool.
anyone wants to make a little bit of money, make one of those. I'm sure Agilists will, wink and a nod, buy it and see who picks it up.
Well, or maybe a T-shirt, right? T-shirt has a chicken and pigs on it, maybe.
I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
that could work. All right. Well, so today there's something I'm curious about, right? So this is a long, I believe it has to do with your journey, but I'm not quite sure. So there's something called Scrum of One.
Okay.
So tell me what Scrum of One is.
Okay. Basically, it is a blog that documents my adventure at the intersection of personal development and agility.
Okay.
The story goes, once upon a time, I was living with a girl. Then I wasn't. And I found myself in a one bedroom in the back bay, a nice part of town in Boston, with all these things I wanted to do. I wanted to be a better brother, a better friend, put things in this apartment,
Mhm.
be a boyfriend again, which was a stupid, stupid idea for me. And I realized that all these aspects of Merrill could be treated like products with the different things I wanted to do, having different levels of priority and effort. And I went, oh my gosh, I can apply this whole Scrum thing that I've been learning to myself.
Right.
So I did, and I've been doing that for almost 10 years now at scrumofone.com. In the beginning, it was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of amazing. I'm running a stand up with myself. And I'd stand up in front of the mirror and say, what did I do yesterday? What do I do today? Is there anything stopping or slowing me down? Okay, go team. Then I go to the gym. Uh, and it has evolved
Okay.
from the very tactical, what do I'm in a one bedroom all by myself. Suddenly, what do I do? Which sink do I clean first? So from that tactical, it's gotten me to think through strategic stuff as well. What does Merrill
Mm-hmm.
want to be when he
Mm-hmm.
grows up? As well as things in between, like when I had a several-month-old in one hand and my phone in the other. I'm like, I'm supposed to run a retrospective with myself, and I'm in no space to do it. So I've my Scrum of One has evolved from straight up Scrum of a 2 week and then 1 week sprint to focusing on what's now, what's next.
Okay.
Uh, a little more fluid, way more agile in that way.
Okay.
I still have certain ceremonies to check in on myself,
Okay.
less structured.
Okay. So in terms of Scrum, right? So Scrum talks about being a team, right? You got somewhere between what, 6, 7 people around that,
Yeah.
that numbers, right? The magic number. And
Mm-hmm.
then you took that and then you make it Scrum of One, just you alone. What were some of the learnings that you had? Were there any difficulties, challenges that you had?
Well, off the bat, it is said that you should not have the scrum master and the product owner under the same hat because you've got two different poles right there. You've got the product owner that says, we want more.
Mm-hmm.
And the scrum master who's not necessarily saying we want less, but sustainable place, common
Right.
s'il vous plaît. So it's been a very interesting model for me to think about what I do now and what I do next. So I'll tell you what I learned, but here's something that I experienced. So I'd set up like a sprint backlog,
Okay.
so to speak. I'm going to do X, I'm going to do Y, I'm going to do Z. I'm a single guy. All this time is on me to manage and control. I'd get to the end of the sprint, and any number of things could happen. I did all the things that I said I would do, but I would still kind of feel sad, and I felt like I sucked because I didn't embrace life as it came up.
Okay.
Another outcome would be I did some of the things, but not all of the things. And then at the end of the sprint, I'd go, oh, I suck because I didn't get all the things done, which meant that at the end of the sprint, I kept running into this I'm disappointed with myself feeling. And I'm like, well, this isn't empowering. There's got to be a better way. So I used the buffer interrupt pattern. I think that's what it's called.
Okay.
Where I said,
Interesting.
if my velocity is 40 points, it was actually 40 points, the canonical 40 points. I gave myself a 50% buffer.
Okay.
So plan for 20 points worth of stuff and realize that things are going to come down the pike like a buddy is visiting. I should hang out with that buddy. Or I'm going to go on this sudden date. I should do that. That's going to take a little bit of time, budget, focus, etc. So in that way, I felt like I was more able to enjoy life as it came up, because that's life,
Okay.
as well as strategically build towards things that I wanted to do.
So were you challenged with like having almost like two-person struggling? Like I do sometimes, like when I have a topic I want to talk about, I put it in my backlog, and then somehow something else come up, and then I just, there's this almost this two talking here, right? The good and the bad person talking. You should do this. Nope, you should not. And do you have that?
I did, and I would journal about it, and I'd think about it at the retrospective, but then I would just try again.
Okay.
And that's really been my approach through it all. I try again, and that's where I come up with different ways to look at Scrum and Agile and evolve it. So,
Okay.
for example, I found that I had a lot of anxiety around all these to-do lists. I
Yep.
guess I always
Yep.
have as a kid. So, another way to look at them would be can-do lists.
Ah.
Because if they are to-do, that means they almost have a life of their own. And if I don't do them, then all of them are kind of looking at me in a disappointed way. You suck for not getting any of these things done. What is wrong with you? Some
Oh,
trigger phrases for
interesting.
me.
Yeah.
But when I view them as can-do items, I'm like, oh, what do I choose to do right now? What am I most pulled to for whatever reason, for fear of them not getting done, or this would be an opportune moment to get these things done right now. So then these were more options for me to take. And so I felt less weight with doing each of those things.
Nice.
So the way that I would like approach the two-headedness that you're
Yeah.
talking about is evolving how agility works for me as I get stuff done.
Okay. Okay. So you talk about the takeaways, you talk about what you learned from it. Now, would you recommend somebody to do what you do? And why not?
To do exactly what I do? Absolutely not. To do some flavor of it that works for you in the small, yeah, give it a shot. See if it's useful to you. See that if you're an environment to getting it done. So like, what's a first step that you could take? Transparency in the short term. So there's a book, Getting Things Done by David Allen. And he says, yes, a lot of folks are sometimes taken aback by all these things to do. So where do you focus? Do you focus at the 30,000 foot level of, I want to be, an awesome X, or do you deal with cat food? I don't have a cat, but that's the example of kids. My cat's hungry. I don't have cat food. I should feed my cat. He recommends feeding your cat, go getting cat food, clearing the deck. Jordan Peterson would talk about clean your room.
Yeah.
It's just like deal with the level that you have some influence over. Get that to done. and then see what the next step is beyond that. Because if you can't even do that, then you don't have a platform for moving forward. So it's kind of like removing technical debt to some degree, if I had to come up with some analogy. So yeah, I would say, what can you do that you feel that you could take on, that you would take on, and try that bits at a time. The only other thing that I'd recommend, at least as a start, is holding some form of retrospective. I feel like I wouldn't be an agile coach if I didn't recommend that as a first thing. It's like that interview question. If you could only have one event,
Yeah, what would that be?
one ceremony, what would it be? And the correct answer is supposed to be the retrospective. And
Right.
why? So that you can, have that piece of Kaizen, that actionable item of improvement that says, oh, now you're no longer a scalar, you're a vector. You can adapt things as you move along and potentially rederive all these other aspects of Scrum or
Right.
agility. The way I think about that, just to sidetrack for a moment, is it's kind of like choosing the genie, where if the genie only gives you one wish, you get to
Oh,
say,
okay.
I wish for more wishes. That's what the retro is kind of like.
I like
Because
that.
then you could say, yeah, I thought of this on the fly the other day. I'm like, ooh, I got to remember this. Because then that's what the retrospective is. It's an engine for creating more agility. And so, do it every day in the small, do it every week in the slightly larger, write stuff down along the way. And in that way, come up with some level of agility that works for you.
Cool. So, what is next for Merrill? What's next for you? What's your next adventure?
I was just thinking about that this morning. It's really funny that you asked that. A thing that I struggle with is starting an adventure and then stopping it because for some reason I'm not motivated to continue it.
Okay.
And I look back at that time and I say, well, that was a waste. And then I look beyond that and I say, well, that was a waste, and that was a waste, and that was a waste. Like, what is something that I could do to get it through to done? So here's where I am. I am taking a look at, do I have this book? I have this book. I may have showed you this book. It's on my laptop. So sorry if this is a little rickety, but Atomic Habits
Okay.
by James Clear. I'm reading this again and taking notes so that I can explore how to think about agility from the perspective of habits. So that as you, and I should come up with a good spiel for selling this, so that as you bring in more agility to your life or to your company, to maybe just your team, you do it in the small and you do it in ways that are hopefully sticky, because each thing that you're bringing in is useful to you.
Okay.
So that's generally my approach. And I think that's the next level that I'm taking it. What are these small bits of Agile that could be treated like habits that you can then try and then see, oh, yeah, this works for me, or I'll tweak it, I'll continue. Where an outcome is, I'll have a big list of them. And then I say, oh, it's a to-do list now. Which one of these things am I inspired to do, that I want to, that I feel like trying out? So that's the latest in my thought, and that's the thing that I'm exploring right now.
Okay. So going along the line of inspect and adapt, right? So you said you had started a bunch of stuff and then you didn't finish them. Well, I'm sure you learned from each one of those things, right?
And I only really realized that after the fact.
Okay.
It's kind of like that. Actually, I don't know if it was Steve Jobs that said it in some big speech he gave, I think a commencement speech. Like, you can't really make the connections until you look backwards.
Yeah.
And say, oh, these things led to me being here.
Right.
The thoughts that happened along the way changed me so that this next adventure seems to make more sense for me right now. And the way that I've come to peace with each of these former projects that haven't come to some grand fruition of like extra revenue as a stream or something like that, is that this is me going with the flow.
Okay.
This is what I've been pulled to. And so I really am trusting this either deeper self or a higher power or whatever you want to call it, my Tao, that this is the right way for me to go now. And then let's see what happens. So yeah, you're right. I do feel that I grow with each thing that I do, but I can't necessarily see that until I look back or until I have coaching sessions with the folks that I work with. And then I like pull from each of these very different adventures and say, oh,
Right.
this thing that I learned, that I encountered, is helping you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I had that.
Well, that's awesome. So, well, I want to thank you for this wonderful conversation. Just the short time that we had with you, there are so many nuggets in there. There are books, at least 2 books already. I know that you've mentioned that I'll probably post it on there for the group that are watching this. Uh, I think that's all I have for you for today. Thank you again, Merrill, for joining me in this conversation.
Richard, this was fun, and I'll
Yes,
talk to you
thank you.
later.